So it was, a lot of research on the historical part because it's so interesting why the book goes from Dunhuang all the way to kind of goes to London and goes to Paris, goes to like Russia, and then later, it's like even we found it in other places. It's a big project.
I'm Michael Max, and this is Qiological, the podcast that curates East Asian medicine and methods through the power of conversation. It was some years ago, talking with a friend, somewhere in the conversation, she referred to the earth phase of the Wu Zang as soil. I liked that. Something, no pun intended, down to earth about that perspective. Soil, after all, being that thin substrate from which all life on land grows out of. There are two ways that you can draw the relationship of the 5 phases. One, with earth being in between fire and metal, and the other, with the earth in the center of the phases. I rather cotton to that representation, especially given the idea that this is the phase of soil, and that is exactly where we live as we experience the influence of the other phases. Lately, my thinking about this energy of the center, the soil, I think of it as home. The place we live out our days between the fire of the south, the water of the north, between the wood of the east and the metal of the west. The phase of earth, of soil, of landscape, of terrain. It's home. It's the place that you would fight for. The place of longing should you be living in exile. It's that location and energy with which you feel a kinship, a visceral belonging, a sense of both ownership and membership. There's a steadfastness that goes with home, a knowing in the bones. Even if it's a place that you wish to escape, you'll never completely leave the orbit of its gravity. The pattern of its season, character of its storms, the unique way the air smells at the change of seasons. The soil of home leaves an inescapable imprint. It claims you, even if you reject it. It's the place from which you'd march to war. The soil from which you spring puts a claim to your blood. Your bones know the mineral of its terrain. Home is more than a place with a name. It orients beginnings and destiny. It's a phase of physicality entwined with the soil, streams, weather, and animals. Its song sings through you whether you voice it or not. The earth phase, it's not simply about nourishment. It's about how you belong. Sometimes the earth hides its secrets. Underground reservoirs of water, precious metals and stones, terrains that hold the chi of weather patterns and time beyond human measure. And in its caves, there can be treasures. In the 4th through early 11th centuries, paintings, statues, and scrolls were hidden away in the Dunhuang caves of northwestern China. The treasures of 7 centuries, for some reason hidden away for the future, they were unearthed in 1900, and due to the peculiarities of that moment in time, many of these paintings and scrolls made their way to London and Paris. Curiously, a number of the medical scrolls contained similar information, and it's attributed to Zhang Zhongjing. This treatise on the 5 viscera not only were found in Dunhuang, but also Korea, Japan, and Russia as well. It's a fascinating story, and we are fortunate to have doctors Qiang Cao and Xiao join us for a conversation on the Wu Zang Lun. Part detective story, part archaeological adventure, and part historical artifact, the story they have to tell is full of unlikely coincidences and turns of fate. And the book in question? Some perspectives on medicine that you can consider for your clinical practice. It's a bit of a wild ride. Buckle up. Qiological Conversations come to you through the generous support of our sponsors and members. You have clinic challenges? Our sponsors have solutions. Cupping reimagined, and I'm not sure why somebody didn't do this sooner. Fascia Buddy from our friends at AccuFast is going to change your practice. Blue Poppy offers same-day fulfillment and free shipping on orders over $50. Looking to reimagine clinical practice? Consider the study of nature's design with Ed Neal at the Apricot Grove. Later in the show, Jane makes clinic life easier with templates. Need to send a custom formula to a patient? Sunten makes it easy for you with their direct delivery service. Do be sure to visit the sponsors page on the Qiological website to take advantage of all the special offers our terrific sponsors have for listeners of the podcast.
Hello, fellow change agents. This is John Stan, creator of the Fascia Buddy Square Cupping System, which I am very happy to say is now available in Canada and launching mid-July at your favorite U.S. distributor. This innovative, multi-sized square cupping set is opening up fresh treatment possibilities everywhere. One great example is in the use of our smallest cups. They fit perfectly just under the occipital ridge when you add a bit of cream to mat down the hair. Now you can precisely target gallbladder 20 and UB10 to create powerful decompression in this very tricky zone. You can stop there or add more cups along the bladder or gallbladder line for even deeper tissue engagement. Have your patient gently move their neck for a few minutes, then pop the cups off and watch their face light up as mobility increases and tension is way down. Often, it's a dramatic change and super quick. And that's just one use. I'm sure you'll have endless others in your clinic. Visit fasciabuddy.com to learn more and get your set now.
When it comes to running a smooth, efficient clinic, having a reliable supplier makes all the difference. That's where Blue Poppy comes in. From premium acupuncture needles and trusted herbal formulas to innovative solutions like their liquid moxa, a smokeless, low-fume alternative to traditional moxa, Blue Poppy has everything you need all in one place. And the best part, Blue Poppy offers free shipping on all orders over $50 with no restriction in the continental United States. For nearly 40 years, Blue Poppy has supported licensed acupuncturists with high-quality products and a commitment to exceptional service. Visit bluepoppy.com today and discover why so many practitioners trust Blue Poppy. Don't forget to subscribe to their mailing list for exclusive offers and more. Are you ready to create your practice through an in-depth study of the original writings of Chinese medicine? Beginning August 24th, join the Apricot Grove and Dr. Edward Neal on a transformative journey into the roots of Chinese medicine. If you are new to the classics, their Wisdom of the Cosmos class offers a wonderful introduction to the original writings of Chinese medicine and Neijing, nature-based medicine. For those seeking a deeper immersion, their highly esteemed 2-year postgraduate training in Neijing, nature-based medicine, and classical text archaeology provides a comprehensive pathway to advanced clinical practice grounded in the Neijing text. Come and join a vibrant global community reimagining clinical practice through the traditional writings of the Huangdi Neijing and study of nature's design. Tuition assistance is available. Visit neijingstudies.com to learn more and enroll today. Dr. Cao, Dr. Xiao, welcome to Qiological.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So you guys have been doing something that I think is really interesting. I'm a great fan of Chinese herbal medicine. And so books like the Zhang Lun, Jingui Yaoyue are, they're really treasures of our medicine. I've recently come to find that there's another book supposedly written, by Zhang Zhongjing. Okay, this is interesting. It's called the Wu Zang Lun. You guys have a little bit of experience with this. I'm, first of all, thinking about something else by Zhang Zhongjing is a little bit mind-blowing. I'm curious to know how you came across this text and what got you interested.
That's very interesting. I come from China, originally trained in China. I work in the Shanghai TCM University and the teaching hospital called the Dunhuang Hospital. I worked there 10 years. By some reason, I touched by the Zhang Zhongjing, did some research related to Zhang Zhongjing work. For example, Qing extract. And then I come to America and I co-found Bastille TCM program, acupuncture program. So my main job is teaching and teaching and teaching. I think the best teaching can improve acupuncture medicine in America. So I'm luckily can teaching Shanghai Lun, Zhang Zhongjing's work. So you know that I have 3 ways to teaching Shanghai Lun. One's by the 6th channel, one's by formula. I like teaching by reading original textbook, sentence by sentence. I hold 10 years experience and how to teaching Shanghai Lun sentence by whole book. I want to write a book by that way. Have a 10-year teaching experience notes. So I took my sabbatical, go to China to join professional teaching conference. See what I can find some new things can help me. 2011. Extensionally, I find the information by Zhang Zhongjing, Wu Zang Lun.
Okay, hang on just a second. I love these kind of stories because here you are, you're busy, engaged in your profession, you're teaching, you have an interest in Shanghai Lun, you want to write a book, you decide to do some research and take some time off to write the book on the Shanghai Lun, and instead you find out about the Wu Zang Lun.
Yes, and I teaching so many years. I know Shanghai Lun Jingui Yaolü brought my mind. I never heard about that.
You had never heard about it?
No, even all the Chinese textbook, no any book mention about that. So I was so curious. They said they found that book in the cave, Solon's Buddha. So I have opportunity visiting the Dunhuang and see that called the hidden library. It's a cave. Inside the cave have a room called the 17th, cave 17th. Actually, so many people looking for inside those little cave have a very small gate there. I saw a monk statue in there. One side is a medicinal bottle. Another side is body side back, carry book. The room only like 10 feet square, no window. Why? And they told me there was no gate there. It's a closed wall. It's one piece of beautiful Buddhist painting in the wall.
So this was really a hidden cave.
Exactly. And the story is happened in the last winter, 19th century.
So in the 1900, there was actually Taoist priest. His name is Wang Yuanlu. He is the one actually found this hidden cave before, because Dunhuang, it's a place that is a Buddhist site. It's on the road of Silk Road on the northwest part of China. So in this Buddhist site, there are about 500 Buddhist temples in there. He, as a Taoist monk, he was able to establish a Taoist shrine over there. So one day, he and his fellow, Mr. Yang, actually, they found like a wall in the hall of their shrine. It sounds empty. So at that night, they just went there and knocked off the wall and found a cave, a room that was full of manuscripts, like books, all these things. So that's how actually was found the Dunhuang cave. Then later it was called the Hidden Library.
So this is already kind of a weird story. This is a Buddhist area, many Buddhist shrines. We have a Taoist monk who wanders in here, sets up a Taoist shrine. All right, that's already kind of a curiosity. Any idea what tipped them off that there was this hidden room?
No one knows they have a room. And when he find a room, he just want to clean up, the Dunhuang cave all buried by sand. He just want to do good job. Humanity, clean up the sand. He want to get some, the work go there. And he find there so many manuscript, so old, beautiful artist paintings. And so he just falling in love. He thinks that's treasure. He immediately report to Chinese government. You know what the government say? The one of a high rank government.
Now, wait a minute. What year is this again?
1900.
1900.
It's a Qing dynasty.
1900, that's the end of the Qing dynasty. It's probably a
the
mess.
Last,
they probably ignored
very
him.
Mess. You know, the guy said, he looked at the manuscript. He threw on the floor. He said, the calligraphy is not as good as writing. Forget about it.
Oh, no.
And
Really?
yeah, Wang Daoshi even went to even high rank area. He even write a letter to Chinese, the emperors, and there's no answer. He waiting for 7 years there until people discover it.
So, okay, there's this treasury of manuscripts, books, in this Buddhist area. How does this Wu Zang Lun, how did it find its way here? Does anybody know?
Yeah. So after I back, I reading, dig research, who's that monk? Why Wu Zang Lun there? There are 50,000 piece manuscript there.
So this is one manuscript out of a tremendous number.
The 50,000 piece is everything is a treasure. Artist paintings, and a lot of the religious text and things there areas. So there are only 100 pieces is medical related documents. So they're only like 2% in the 50,000. And then we surprised to find there are 5 different type copy of Zhang Zhongjing Wu Zang Lun in 100 medical documents. There are 5% in the medical.
So there's not just one copy of this thing. There are 5 copies.
Yeah, gradually we find 5 copies. 1 in the Britain, 3 in the France, 1 in the Russia.
Now, how did these manuscripts get from Dunhuang to England, France, and Russia?
Yeah, and so many important peoples, so many high rank, scholars, they want to see works. But how many people's research in Wu Zang Lun have seen original scripts? That's our ambitious.
Well, prior to this, how many people even heard about the Wu Zang Lun? I've heard about books like the Tangye Jing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's mythical. There's not really a copy of it. Zhang Zhongjing alludes to it. There's an idea that it's something that has existed prior to the Shanghan Lun. There's many books, I don't know about many, but there are different books that we have records of, but we don't have the book. But I've never heard of the Wu Zang Lun up until I started reading your book.
Exactly. That's why we want to write the book, because not many people know about the book. It's a treasure for everyone so that we can show people that, okay, there is a book about Wu Zang Lun, and then later we can talk about what is in there so that people will be able to benefit about that. So, back to how these treasures go to all these places, they found in Dunhuang Cave Library. And then later, why they appeared in London, why they appeared in Paris, why they, later also in Russia. So let's actually start with one story. There was a guy called Chang Hong. He was later regarded as the guardians of Dunhuang's art, but he actually, at that time, he was a student of art. He studies art in France. He was very, very talented, has a very bright future. But one day, he was wandering along the river. So he saw those, like a little book stand. When me and Dr. Qiao, actually, we went to Paris to really look into the manuscript. So that little book stand, they're just still there in nowadays. So at that time, Chang Shu-hong, in 1935, he wanders along the La Seine and saw like there was a book called the Dunhuang Grottos Illuminated. He found that book. Once, he read that and say, wow, I never see that, because the art's so beautiful. So even after that, even he has a really bright future in France, as an artist. He gave up all these things. He gave up even his marriage to go to Dunhuang and be like a guardian of Dunhuang. So then later he becomes the director of the China National Research Institute of Dunhuang Art. So just this book changed his life totally. Like as Dr. Qiao, like just a conference, people introduced him Zhang Zhongjing, Wu Zang Lun, and that actually really changed his life and also my life as well. So after Chang Shu-hong, like he saw this book called The Dunhuang Grottos Illuminated. So that book, the exact book, changed the Chang Shu-hong's life. Actually, the author of that book was called Paul Pelliot. He's a French. So Paul Pelliot, he is among one of the explorers. He is a very bright sinologist. He is very proficient in 13 languages. It's like 13 languages.
13 languages?
Yeah, including French, Chinese, Tibetan, like Mongolian, Sanskrit, Pali, Persian, Arabic, you can name it. So he, at that time in 1908, that interesting, another one is that Wang Daoshi, the Taoist monk, he loves the story of Journey to the West. Do you know that one? Like every Chinese knows that story.
Very popular story.
Like the Monkey King.
It's TV shows, it's movies, there's a whole series about it. Yeah.
Right. So,
that he talking at the Paul, then actually original discovered the hidden library is called oral stance, English. So that's come second one. We're talking the Paul Pelliot changes people's life. We'll talk his story later. And first people actually is called oral stance. He's a Hungarian born, the Jewish and peoples. Very, very, he's the century most famous explorer in the...
Wait a minute. Who is this again?
He is a British-Hungarian archaeologist. His name is Oriel Stein. So the one edition that in London, now in British Library, was from his exploration, his expedition in Dunhuang, which...
Okay, so Stein is the
first one
who took these manuscripts to England.
Exactly.
Pelliot's the guy who took them to France.
Exactly.
Pelliot is said, without Pelliot, Chinese sinologist is the dolphin. He created the, China study in the Western society, Pelliot. Let's say the oral stance, the story very, very interesting. They're talking about a monk, the Xiao travel Western, the stories. He loved Xiao, and...
So Wang Yuanlu, he loves the Journey to the West. We just talked about it. And he thought, like when the Paul Pelliot, he talked about the Monkey Kings, actually, Paul Pelliot, actually both Oriel Stein and Paul Pelliot, they admire Xuanzang. They know Xuanzang and they admire Xuanzang. And part of it, actually, both of them actually went to Dunhuang with the book, Xuanzang's book. That book is called The Great Tang Dynasty Records on the Western Region, 大唐西域记. That's the book wrote actually by Xuanzang himself. But of course, like Wang Yuanlu, the Taoist monk, he does not know that book. He only knows The Journey to the West, but he knows Xuanzang. Paul Pelliot and Oriel Stein, these two foreigners, they know Xuanzang. So this thing connect them together. After 7 years, the Taoist monk, Wang Yuanlu, he was not able to get attention from the emperors, from the local government to take away, to preserve all these treasures. He's kind of like, okay, it's like he almost gave up. He's like, what is it? Are they treasures or they're just some waste? But by that time, Paul Pelliot and then Aurel Stein, they share the common love of Xuanzang. He feels like maybe, they are the ones coming from the West, like Xuanzang, to fetch those sutras, those manuscripts back to, those Western, those kind of sacred land so those foreigners. So that's maybe, the destiny. So that's why, open the door for Aurel Stein and Paul Pelliot.
This is so wild. You could say it's Yuan Feng, right? It's a little bit of fate. I'm fascinated here by this monk who wants to take care of this place. He writes to the officials. He writes to the emperor. He thinks he's got a treasure. He does. He actually does. He's trying to do his duty as a good citizen, notify the government, try to preserve these things, get them into the right hands, and the government ignores him. And so these Westerners show up who speak the language, who have an interest, who read, they've all read the old book and they love it, Journey to the West, right? And here's a way of getting these documents into the hands of somebody who clearly is showing an interest and appears to know what they're looking at.
Actually, originally, first get the area is a Russian guy called Vladimir. He went to there.
The Russians were there first.
Yeah, the people didn't know. 5 years later, Russian got first. And the guy called Vladimir in Obrechel something. He went to there to really, he gave some candles, monk they need, some, little bit of material for livings. And Wang Yuanlu didn't let him in and just get some things, exchange. Never know what's happening in that story. Wang Yuanlu didn't open the heart to that guy. When Stan went there, Stan carried the book, recorded to Western travel, and Pelliot have a whole book, have notes on it. They have a conversation when Stan and Wang Dao's talking about the monkey kings, big pig, the pig, Zhu Bajie, and he talking about that. And then no idea, Stan. Say, what are you talking about? The monkey king and the pig, They don't know. But their language not barely got exchanged. They love each other. They got to go through for that.
So let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Yeah. The monk and the explorers, because of their interest in the journey to the West and their love of that story, they connect. Do I have that right?
Yes. So actually there are two books. One is kind of like a novel called Journey to the West that was wrote by Wu Cheng'en, a novelist. And there is another book called The Great Tang Dynasty Records on the Western Region. So that book was wrote by Tang Xuanzang himself. That book, Tang Xuanzang, he recorded from where he comes from in China, all the way goes to the west part, travel log, whatever he found, and then the landmarks, all these, and the cultures, everything he saw. So Paul Pelliot and Aurel Stein, they read that book, wrote by Tang Xuanzang. And Wang Yuanlu, the Taoist monk, he heard, because the Journey to the West, a lot of times they mix it like operas or like local, kind of little drama, something like that. So he might not literate, no kind of educated to read the book, but he is able to know the story through, the storytellings, people, tell the story by like a word.
Right. It's a folk story. So people tell the story and people know it because of storytelling.
That's right. So that's, at least, they know about Xuanzang. Xuanzang is the common. And the story itself, goes from the east to the west to get the Buddhist sutra. So this story, they know it's a common for them.
This episode is brought to you by Jane, my favorite clinic management software that's here to make practice life a little easier. For many of us practitioners, documentation can feel a bit clunky and disrupt the flow of an appointment. That's where Jane's templates can help. With dozens of customization options, you can tailor your templates to your workflow so you can focus your energy on what matters, which is helping your patients. Instead of starting from scratch, Jane includes access to an extensive template library built by practitioners across different disciplines. You can simply edit any template to fit your unique needs, or create your own templates for every step of patient care, including intake forms, questionnaires, clinical surveys, and treatment plans. This way, you have everything you need to start your appointments prepared. Learn more about how Jane can help your documentation work for you. Head to meet.jane.app/documentation to book a demo. Oh, one last thing. If you're ready to get started with Jane, use the code Qiological for a 1-month grace period on your new Jane account. So we have, let me make sure that I've got this. We've got these manuscripts, we've got these explorers. For good reasons, the manuscripts end up in other countries because these explorers showed an interest in them. Now, and then we got the guy who's walking along the Seine, and he comes across Peleo's book, and it changes his life. He goes back and decides, I'm going to be the guardian of these treasures back in Dunhuang. Okay, how do you guys get your hands on the Wu Zang Lun? Where do you actually experience them for yourself and read them?
And back to America, Seattle. In the beginning of the century, that time, the internet is not so much like nowadays information. I started research and went to library. And also in the Shanghai, I already went to all the library, Shanghai library, university library. And I went to all the things. I got all the information. I finally know that there's no any English information in the magazines, in the medical, documents at all by the Zhang Zhongjing, Wu Zang Lun. Finally, I found one book called The Medieval Medicine. And actually, that medieval medicine is the only English book have a 4 line talking about Zhang Zhongjing, Wu Zang Lun. They have a talking that there are 4 copies of Zhang Zhongjing, Wu Zang Lun. I read that book, Medieval Medicine of China. Actually, that book is similarized the book research on the Dunhuang medical documents. Exactly the book like that. That's why I said in my mind, we need to get them original text out for America. People study Chinese medicine, know that documents, know Zhang Zhongjing work, see what's going on there.
So that's how we actually arranged the trip to London and Paris ourselves. Thanks so much to the British Library curator, Han Ling, and also the curator at the National Library France, Roman. They're very, very helpful. So without their help, we're not able to see those manuscripts. So this time, Dr. Qiao and I actually, when we went into the library, they fetched out the manuscripts, those how many 1,000 years, 2,000 years manuscripts, for us to see in front of us.
We can say, no one knows they have a real Zhang Zhongjing original writing Shanghai Lun, Jingui Yaoli. There's no original Zhang Zhongjing writing. But documents, because in the desert, their book keeps so long very well. And in all belief, those things is the oldest existing book in the world, 1,500 years at least. So originally, we only want to translate that language, the documents to people. And we said, okay, I have a business. We're going to translate that. We have ability to do that. But as we more dig, and so many information come out, we cannot believe that. I cannot handle. So my computer, I gave up my writing book. Actually, my book already done. Shanghai Lun book already done. It's on my bookshelf. I gave up. I put all my energy, besides my teaching practice, all my time is researching that one. So That's what I mentioned to you. How many people research Zhang Zhongjing, Wu Zang Lun have seen original scripts? No. Whatever, so many Chinese research in China. So that's why we went to Europe to see what it really looks like.
Okay. Now, your original intention was to translate this so that we'd have access to it, so it will help us in our practices. But it sounds like you got very involved with the history of it.
You know, only know the history, then you can know the value of the book. You know, we can talking about that book, and when you see that book, or when they see the scripts, you will know how precious that.
Yeah, exactly. I graduated from China, Shanghai TCM University, same as Dr. Qiao. So, initially I finished my, and I came here to learn acupuncture because in China I learned my major was herb. So when I came here, I learned acupuncture at Bastille and then got my doctorate degree. I worked at the Dr. Qiao's office. So when we started the project, I was like, okay, yeah, Dr. Qiao introduced the project to me so that we can, work together. So he was like, okay, let's just do a translation. I was like, sure. It will be, done by a year.
Let's see what's in
here.
here.
Yeah, right. It's easy.
Yeah. It'll be done in a year.
Then, 6-7 years later, we're still working on it. Finally, it was published last year. So it was, a lot of research on the historical part because it's so interesting why the book goes from Dunhuang all the way to goes to London and goes to Paris, goes to Russia. And then later, it's even we found it in other places. It's a big project.
When we're in the London Library.
You found it in other places. Where else did you find it?
Yeah, so let me talk the London first. When you're in the London Library, we are honored being the special reading rooms. So they bring out the blue box and open the box. Inside have a cover. Open the cover. Inside see 2 by 1, feet, the size of the, documents there. It's just so emotional to see that the all originally tail broken like a butterfly style, tail the piece. But the British, they are put together so nicely, you can still see the original, the areas. And so emotional to see that.
So at that time, I was over there and then the curator, Han Ling, she was there. So I just saw Dr. Child's because I know he's a kind of emotional person. So when he opened the manuscript, for a minute or two, he didn't say anything. He didn't even move. I was like, Dr. Zhao, are you okay? He's like, oh, I was too emotional.
But you look at the documents, so precious. But inside, you're looking for, that's the booklet, not a scroll. You know what I mean? They're recording a daily bookkeeping. How many money by sand, how many money by, the rice, how many expense for some things.
So it was, wait, I don't understand. This was like an accounting?
No, in the front
there.
Original page, it's like account daily, housewife daily record. How many rice, how many sand, how many things record the area.
So it's a booklet. So there are actually 4 books. So it's it's not a scroll. So it's a booklet. And, by sequence, there are 5 books in there.
The backside is Zhang Zhongjing, Wu Zang Lun. That write very clear in the type, Wu Zang Lun. And luckily, they didn't tell off that Zhang Zhongjing right there. So it's a handwriting.
And this was written on the backside of other material. Exactly. And again, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Basically, somebody's shopping list was on the front side.
Exactly.
Or on the other side.
The yeah. And then continually they write the Wu Zang Lun. It's a beautiful handwriting, easy writing. And then have a post diagnosis. And then have a, continually and the yin theory and internal organ, at the special, and the sound by 5 organs, those special in the back. Particularly, we find very interesting is following Wu Zang Lun writing always followed by pulse diagnosis.
Again, I want to make sure I'm understanding this. This is kind of a pulse manual. Everything is arranged by pulses?
So at that book, first they wrote the Wu Zang Lun. And then there's another book called 平脉略历. That is the next to the... So probably someone wrote the Wu Zang Lun and then, copied the Wu Zang Lun. And then they started to study the pulse. So it's called 平脉略历. It's a pulse diagnosis.
We make a...
Okay, so that's a different book. That's a different
make
manuscript.
You understand. It's a Wang Suhe. Wang Suhe...
Oh, of course.
Is a right pulse diagnosis. What is the Wang Suhe collecting the pulse in Shanghai Lun they took out? Write a book called a pulse diagnosis. You see how coincidentally those 2 books connecting together and keep going this area. So we look in the fabric, so so special. It's not I know that our paper, the paper we can see the plant fabric there and see the ink brush writing. So emotion, but that was damaged. So that ways make us so appreciate. That's called the International Dunhuang Project, IDP. They are protected and things very well. And they even invite us to write blogs. And so we are really, and also appreciate the oral stand, the bring back to the library. They can survive very well. As you mentioned, the Fu Xingjue. Fu Xingjue was one to take to the West that took out. But later...
Now, the Fu Xingjue, that also came from Dunhuang.
Yeah, the story said they took out by Chinese, keep it, then destroy in the Cultural Revolution. No one see that one at all.
I know there's some very funny stories around the Fu Xingjue because there actually is not a copy of it, and yet... At least my understanding, the person who wrote it down supposedly had it memorized, and people that understand the history of these things
exactly
says, well, yeah, that's actually how they would have written back then.
That's what I said. Is the people copy is existing right now. We can see it. That one is 1,500 years old. Fu Xingjue, as you mentioned, is a people copy, remember writing down.
I find it very interesting, and I also find it a little troublesome because, it's easy to fake things. So I'm just going to play devil's advocate for a moment, right? Someone, oh, look, I've got a copy of a lost book of Zhang Zhongjing. How do we know this is real?
That's also the question we keep asking ourselves as well when we are writing the book.
We went to France. Then we opened the book 2115V. That's the most important Dunhuang copy. People forgot about it. And when we opened that book in the French library.
So that's another proof that was wrote by Zhang Zhongjing. We have other proofs too. So that's one of the proofs.
So you have more than one manuscript that has the same material in Zhang Zhongjing's name on it.
Exactly. The French copy, P22115V, that was a scroll. And that was actually the longest scroll I ever seen. Probably around 20 feet, something like that. So in the front was a Buddhist sutra called Qiang Cao and Dr. So that was a Buddhist sutra. And then on the back side, there was Zhang Zhongjing's Wu Zang Lun. That was clearly wrote by Zhang Zhongjing. And also, interestingly, next to Zhang Zhongjing's Wu Zang Lun, also on the back side, was, again, 平脉略历, Wang Shuhe's 平脉略历.
Oh my goodness. So this is the second document where these two show up together.
Exactly.
Those are very emotional stories. The French library is a royal family, royal palace, old, and the sunshine goes side. Either mahogany or maple from the roof to, desk and a bookshelf. Very nice. Wing and me open there. I call a mile longer, the rose. We very gentle open. And I immediately remember that. And the paleo diary, he said in the 12 days, he was in the dark, dry room, the hidden library, only 10 feet square, from bottom to roof, all manuscript. He said only himself can read all of the script. He said, I will never miss one. He said, my speed, reading speed, like a driving sports car. He just go there. They have a picture show. You can see the historical pictures. He there on the oil lamp, reading this area. Very simple. And in the 12 days, he wrote that one and wrote the 21:15. He said, that's the, Buddhist sutras. But that one he recorded in the back, later record exactly who writing down there. Maybe it's a paleo back to room, he wrote it. Maybe it's later some people collecting wrote for that. In the 15 days, diary also write, he find some Chinese herb and the formula, he took it. Those are mystery stories. That's why there are 3 French connections. Then, I reading there, as I mentioned there, there's writing style called the 4 and 6 word style. Like a rhyme, you can reading. I was reading this on the sunshine. I just said, wow, how beautiful are they? Like a medical symphony, like a violin, like a trumpet, all in my mind. I can't believe that. Thousands of years later, I can that book. And after paleo, the hundreds later, I'm so lucky can research on those things.
Now, it's an incredible story. I remember reading in your book that it's not just these manuscripts from Dunhuang that contain this information, but the Wu Zang Lun also shows up in materials from Korea and materials from Japan. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So that's another proof that this should be wrote by Zhang Zhongjing. So later, there was a Japanese scholar whose name is Miyazaki Saburo. So he did a lot of research on Dunhuang manuscript as well. So he found that the content of exactly or very similar to the content that was appeared in a Korean masterpiece that called Categorized Collection of Medical Formulas. So in that book, Yi Fang Lei Ju, it's a collection of books. So they collected 152 books, both from Korea and China. Those are all medical books. Only one actually from Korea. 151 were from China. So under the Wu Zang Men, there was Wu Zang Lun. So that Wu Zang Lun matches the content of the Wu Zang Lun from Dunhuang in Korea.
So you have some verification that this manuscript, it comes from different places.
Yeah.
That this information was stored and it's found its way through history to us through different streams.
Exactly. It goes from Dunhuang. We found, first it's in Dunhuang, and then it's like, wow, in Korea, it's masterpiece. That's Yifang Leiju. They also, interestingly, that first we talk about, what's the sequence? Because Yifang Leiju is a book. They included 152 books, medical books. But those medical books, they didn't put the name on there. So there's no author name in there.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, but how do we know? That Wu Zang Lun is from Zhang Zhongjing, right? There's no Zhang Zhongjing's name there. But
there's no name, but the content.
Right. The era
is pretty much the same.
The sequence, actually. The sequence, how they list it. So that they list the sequence according to the era and also the author. So they first listed Su Wen, and the 10th is Shang Han Lun, 11th Shang Han Lun 注解, 12th Wu Zang Lun, 13 金贵要略, 14 Wang Shu He Mai Jing. You got it?
Oh, yeah, I got it. I see it. Okay, so it's fantastic. It's a great discovery. Here, the thing I've just been dying to ask you, how do we use it in our clinic? What's in here? How does the Wu Zang Lun help to make us better doctors?
When we study, want to translate it, then we find that there's more than that. So we wrote books, so many information. Finally, we divided them into 3 parts. The first part is the history, so fascinating. The second part is what is that book talk about it. The Chinese scholar called Fan Xingzun, he says that's the first book in Chinese medicine for fundamentals. It's the, the acupuncture ABC. You study that book. Think about that. Zhang Zhongjing said he have a teacher called Zhang Bozu. He learning from them. And he have students called Lu. He teaching them. They are just teaching by Shanghai formula? No. They must learning by some the introduction book. That's it. Number 3, they have 123 in the Japanese edition, but totally together about 200 single herb and a peri-herb and a formula there area.
So it's kind of a materia medica. It's kind of a 对药学.
Yeah, 对药学, materia medica, and it is formulas. So what are we learning? You can see the history, as I mentioned to you, how do we learning fundamentals? It's not a learning just by yin and yang start beginning. They start with the qi.
So Zhang Zhongjing Wu Zang Lun, they start from the qi. They said, 夫天地之精气化万物之形. The essence of heaven and earth has transformed the shape of everything. So then, after that, they're talking about how makes the baby, the father's jing and then the mother's po. By father's jing, way is huan, and the mother's jing is po, and then how they mix together and then makes the baby, right? So then they talk about the embryology, like 10 months, how the babies grow inside the womb. And then later, they were talking about how the baby born and then how they grow, right?
The blah, blah, go down to yin yang 5 elements, go there. The one we learning medicine have 2 systems in the Western, society. One is by current one, is you learning anatomy, you learning, embryology, learning, physiology. Have another way is learning called the normal human body theory. It's all mixture together. Start with teaching when a baby born. Start for that way. Go to mixture with anatomy, physiology, pathology, all go together. And coincidentally, it's not teaching normal body function in this area. Same the second.
So it also talks about normal physiology, not just pathology, but it's talking about how to see and how to understand normal physiology.
Yeah. Well, there in the Western we're talking cell theory, cell theory, star cell anatomy, and then they're talking qi theory, qi and the body. For example, they're talking the people's structures, how to hold in your body, the bones, and talking about the heel, how to hold there. Then talking the 5 tissues, then talking about 5 organs, and then go to the meridian. They go that way. And the side, they bring in all the 藏象学说, 五脏学说, go there, brought to the physiopathology together. So when we learn the medicine, very important is the theory, our foundation there. We not just copy from Western medicine. You should have our own foundation. It's a great resource. We can see how Asian people and teaching Chinese medicine, what we learn from them today.
Sun Ten has been a trusted name in traditional Chinese medicine since 1946. With deep roots in classical herbal wisdom, Sun Ten combines time-honored practices with modern science to support health and wellness. Their extensive line of herbal extracts and supplements is manufactured to the highest quality standards, helping practitioners deliver consistent, reliable results. Through the Sun Ten dispensary platform, licensed healthcare professionals can easily create and customize herbal formulas online. These prescriptions are hand-prepared and shipped directly to patients, making personalized TCM care more accessible than ever. Their commitment extends beyond products. They actively support integrative care by enabling clinicians to offer customized herbal solutions that seamlessly fit into modern treatment plans. With nearly 80 years of experience, Sun Ten remains a pioneer in bridging traditional knowledge with today's healthcare needs. To learn more, visit sun10.com or sun10dispensary.com. So this is a book that talks about the fundamentals of how to think about Chinese medicine. Do I have that right?
Exactly. They start from Jing Qi and then talk about embryology, child development. And also they even talk about how the parents sacrifice so that we should, the kids should treat the parents good. It's called Xiao in Chinese.
Yes.
Yeah. And
we could use more of that.
Exactly. And then they're talking about the diagnosis, pathologies, materia medica, formulation, zangxiang, anatomy. Even they talk about dreams. All kinds. So, it's a very sophisticated system of how they teach Chinese medicine.
How to connecting yin-yang 5 elements to internal organ. The old days separate. They only by 天干地支. The holistic concept is by heaven, earth, and human 3 together. Because only 天干地支 categorize the nature and the humans. And then yin-yang 五行 can go in together.
So it sounds to me like there's a fair amount of cosmology that's in this book. 天干地支, the heavenly stems and branches. That's a very... when I think about that, I don't understand it very well. I've talked about it a bit with different guests on the show. It seems like it's a very at least to me, in my thinking, it's a very complex kind of thinking in terms of how creation happens and what it means to us humans, like where we are in that whole system.
For my opinion, that's, the fundamentals of Chinese medicine creating the Cultural Revolution. It's not original.
Wait, say that again?
Fundamentals of Chinese medicine is created in the Cultural Revolution. Before the Cultural Revolution, no fundamentals class in the TCM University.
No fundamentals class before the Cultural Revolution. How did people learn the basics?
No. When they do have a called the 中医入门, it's a very basic by Qing Wei, very early, but very simple brochures. And when they bring the fundamentals, they're thinking, 天干地支五运六气 too complicated. And it's not a materialism, too many idealism. Not a feeling for that time Chinese, political situations.
Yes.
They took it out.
Yes. Well, and I would agree. It's complicated.
Yeah, too many idealism.
I've been studying Chinese medicine for 25 years. I've had a little experience with the Tiangan Dizi. I've had some conversations, but I feel like it's something that feels advanced to me. So it's very interesting hearing that there's a book that says this is part of the basics.
That's what encourage us. Need to bring back those concepts into the Chinese medicine. Even in the nowadays, in the 11th edition, the newest edition, Fundamentals in the Chinese Medicine textbook, They put the qi, it's the first teaching. They call the qi, yuan qi, you know what I mean? Qi theory, you know what I call that. Then they put a name called the constitutional concept diagnosis. And then we never talking about it. Have you learned constitutional diagonal 体质学? The 体质学 is a come from the theory, should come from the Wu Yin Lu Qi, and calculate your constitution.
So these are all things that back when you were first studying Chinese medicine, couldn't really be talked about.
No, they don't talk about that. Yeah, I follow in that.
How is it for you at this point, all these years down the road, to come full circle on this material?
Yeah, and those are very fascinating. Also, the herbs is even more fascinating. You know, the Zhang Zhongjing, I make a joke. He even dentist. He write in the dental book in the original recorded this area. And also, he's the first, which the book, first book introduced Western medicines. It's Wu Zang Lun, that book.
How does it introduce
Western remedy, Greek's remedy. Yeah, called Srika.
Tell me the story about that.
Srika is the Greek's remedy. They said maybe have 600 things mixed together. When the Chinese want to buy that one, it's a magic. They come two things. One's the dark fluid. They tell them that's animal biles. The second is the black pills. They only buy two things, their format. Even royal family keep that one. And first, the recording in the Chinese official materia medica called Tang Ben Cao, or called Xin Xiu Ben Cao. But they appear in Wu Zang Lun. So actually, you know what's inside the greetings? The Greeks tell people it's the snake biles. Actually, it's opium. It's opioid inside.
Okay.
Yeah, in Zhang Zhongjing's The Wu Zang Lun, it said 敌也家. So it's called, in Chinese, it's called 敌也家. It said can cure tens of thousands of diseases.
And what they're referring to here actually is opium?
Exactly. And the main greetings opiums. The original, I think, is snake bile, but it's opium. It's the opiums. You know, you can see Zhang Zhongjing is open-minded. It's a very integrative with internationally all great things together.
So hang on just one moment. You're kind of blowing my mind here. Wu Zang Lun, this was written in the late Han Dynasty. Originally in the late Han Dynasty.
Yeah, we find a copy
right?
at least 1,000 years to 1,500 years, the copies.
Yes. So inside of it, it talks about connections with the West and medicines that they've gotten from the West.
Exactly.
That makes it a very interesting sort of document. I
never heard about it.
No, I never heard about it.
You know,
it's one of these things. Sometimes you haven't heard of something, and when you first hear about it, you just don't know how to make sense of it.
You know, when they research on the Qing Su, Artemisia, the reward for Nobels, Artemisia, and they not come to very complicated talking areas. They're only very simple sentence said they're only effective by squeeze out the juice. It means normal temperatures. When they use a high pressure, high temperature extract for Qing Su, it's useless. Only in a lower temperature, they got the material can anti-malaria. There only one sentence wrote in those books, not the Wu Zang Lun. But that's what's the beautiful of the ancient book. And Hua Tuo.
I've heard stories.
Hua Tuo record said, can make people lie. That's recording said. So a lot of things are proof for that. So they're writing this area. Canopy flower in the Wu Zang Lun, canopy flower called the Ma Hua can make people see ghosts.
So wait a minute, what herb is this?
Canopies, marijuana.
Oh.
Cannabis.
Okay, marijuana. Yeah, it makes people see ghosts.
They said ephedra can relieve people asthma.
it does a good job of it too.
So they're only one sentence.
Well, it would make sense to keep things simpler when you don't have a lot of paper, you don't have a lot of ink. When you're trying to convey something in writing, and paper or bamboo slips or whatever is a precious material, of course you'd want to make it as simple as possible.
The simple is original native observation, the most effective result. I tell you, what is the most successful story for Zhang Lun?
I don't know.
In China or in America? There's one guy called K.K. Chen. In the 1920s, he's a Shanghai boy. His family is traditional Chinese medicine. He come to United States, I think it's to the Wisconsin or some area, to study the pharmacology. His first research is Guizitang in his bachelor research project. He back to China and back again to America. And he make a change in the medicine. He wrote a book, research, called Ephedrine and Associated Material. You know that before 1930s, even MD, no prescription material can do anything, all by herb. Only K.K. Chen from Shanghai Lun, he changed the Western medicine because they're anti-allergy, because they bring up the blood pressure, people can do surgery. So they call 1930s is called the ephedrine era. So K.K. Chen, for my opinion, is the most contribution for Shanghai Lun in the 20th century.
Well, I think it also goes to show, I think it also goes to show that there is wisdom and knowledge that has come down to us through this traditional medicine that we practice.
The knowledge.
That has all kinds of modern applications, especially when they take it and concentrate it. Look, there's plenty of pharmaceutical companies right now that I think for years have been looking at Chinese medicines and trying to figure out, is there a way that we can turn it into a pharmaceutical?
You're right.
So that we can get it to treat a particular illness. We're fortunate that we have thousands of years of people's experience with using these. And it sounds like with the Wu Zang Lun, we not only have a formulary in here, we have Duiyao, we have some fundamentals.
They do have a formula.
I'm curious, are there formulas that you see in there that are different in some way from the formulas that we're used to seeing and working with? Are they different than Shanghai Lun formulas?
They say the most famous formula, for my opinion, is the feature of the Chinese medicine, is that they have a name, they call it Liu Wei Di Huang Wan. They actually, Liu Wei Di Huang Wan is come from Jing Gui Shen Qi Wan. But what is Jing Gui Shen Qi Wan? In Wu Zang Lun, they tell us that formula is come from, is a last name called Cui family doctor. Dr. Cui family. It's not Zhang. Their family have one formula called Ba Wei Di Huang Wan. It's Fu Zi Gui Zi plus, the other 6 herbs.
I'm sorry, which family is this from?
Cui, C-U-I. The history tells.
And this is another family of
you never
doctors?
Heard, yeah, they're family doctors. Before Zhang Zhongjing. They create their formula. That's Wu Zang Lun collecting that formula, put it into the Wu Zang Lun book, because that's the most popular herbal formula. Then Jingui Yaoli, they're called the Ba Wei Di Huang Wan, because they're from the Jingui book. They call Jingui Shen Qi Wan. And the Song Dynasty, Qian Yi said, for pediatrics, that Fu Zi Gui is too warm. They took it out. So now they call Liu Wei Di Huang Wan. The inside, for my guess, the best for us, we need to do research, is Romanian roots. That's for people longevity. That's for people for EPO, erythropoietin.
Erythropoietin, EPO.
Those are the stories. People doping EPO for stamina.
No, I'm sorry. I somehow missed it. Please say it again.
Yeah, Romanian roots. There's a key herb in the Liu Wei Di Huang Wan.
Right.
中文叫地黄, 熟地黄.
But you were just saying something about stamina.
Yeah,
and
they're one of the things we only know used for ginseng for energy, stamina, the ephedrine for stimulating caffeine. But they have another very important steroid for build up your muscles. But they have another very important material from kidney called erythropoietin.
Oh, okay.
Called EPO. The people in the United States, in the history in sports, the people have IV EPO to get you going, get your stamina, get your energy. But where's the EPO come from in the Liu Wei Dunhuang Wan? You can't believe that. It's in the Romanian roots.
Performance enhancing herbs.
So where it come from? Because Zhang Zhongjing, Wu Zang Lun, he took the best Western herb called the Srika. He took the best Chinese herbal formula called Ba Wei Di Huang Wan. That book, every herb, every sentence we can research.
Well, it certainly sounds like we have a treasure.
Exactly.
Thanks to the two of you.
I'd love to do it.
And where can people find your book?
So our book is available on three ways. One is the publisher's website, Taylor and Francis Group. Also, you can find it on Amazon and also Barnes Noble.
So pretty much anywhere you'd want to find a book, you can get it.
Exactly, online.
Now, are you teaching any classes on this? If people wanted to learn more about what's inside the book and how to use it?
Well, that's my another job. When they were reading for the Japanese, they said they used the best technology called movable printer scale, printer book. He thinks it's a treasures. And that they summarize spirit. They said, I like shooting out the arrows. Shooting out arrows, starting the war was the best result we all keep on. So you can't believe that 150 years later, that arrow landing in America. We're going to keep going. So what I think I'm going to explain to everything. But I realize, have you read any medical book without introduction, explanation? Probably not.
I think I've read quite a few books that didn't have much of an explanation. They just get into the material.
Oh, that's wonderful. But for my understanding, most the Shanghai Lun Jingui Yoli being explained. So we are mind being manipulated. So I thinking I just put the first things is a blank, the original book without explanation, add addition, have a translation. Even never use a Latin name translation, pharmaceutical name. Just use the common name, translate it. You read it, you taste it, you identify it with the best idea for you. Probably not too late. Next year, I'm going to publish my book. Another book going to be fully explanation. I'm going to use my mind. The first step, I hope people can have opportunity reading that book with any other explanation, have a best idea. Now, next year, we're going to have a fully explained book.
Okay. So it'll be like part 1 and part 2. I know that in reading the book, there were a couple things for me that really stood out. One was that the history of the Wu Zang Lun is fascinating. And the detective work that the two of you have done in digging out its authenticity and in doing the translation is remarkable. Sometimes I read things in there are very strange. I mean, I remember there was one thing about Zixie. It was something like, it's like golden fairies accompanying you on a trip.
Yeah, no, that he said.
I'm thinking, how am I supposed to make sense of that?
Zixie, he said, the light your body, like make a kung fu. You weight 100 pounds. When you take a Zixie, you only feel like 50 pounds. You can jump up.
So it lightens the body.
Yeah, that's why you need to think about that. If I explain to you, it's not interesting. You have to think, what are you thinking? Zixie, when the older day martial arts people, they took a Zixie. They jump, they fight. So if I explain to you, it's not interesting. You have to reading original. What are you thinking? Maybe I'm writing wrong. You know what I mean? They're very interesting. You know what I mean? There's things, only you have a taste the original, way.
I see your point and I appreciate it. Sometimes it's helpful to read something or be exposed to something and come away with way more questions than understanding. Because if you stay with the question, you'll find out interesting things.
Yeah, just like the first sounding arrow. So let it go and let you think. After that, we'll explain.
My second book called what it called? Variations. Like a music,
forward to
like
reading it.
variations.
Yeah, so that's actually what we're thinking about the name of our second book, because, the variation is like, you have Zhang Zhongjing, the thing, right? The thing. But we are explaining by not
East and West.
Yeah, both from the Eastern ways and Western ways, both together. So it's kind of like a variation, but our core is Zhang Zhongjing's Wu Zang Lun.
Great. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for your contribution with this book.
Thank you for having us.
Who buries a treasure like that found at Dunhuang? What could those who stored those paintings, sutras, treatises on Buddhism, and scrolls of medicine have had in mind? Was it some kind of a time capsule? A message to the future? Maybe a hope to preserve something of value from the past? And that wanderers from foreign lands should happen along in a moment that would allow these artifacts to make their way into a wider world. Are these stolen relics or some kind of divine intervention that prevented their possible destruction during the madness of the Cultural Revolution? I'm no historian or anthropologist, so not really qualified to have much of an opinion, but I can say this. It's extraordinary what Dr. Xiao and Xiao have found, and their journey in unwinding the story of the Wu Zang Lun has been one of both scholarship and dedication. It always adds to our understanding when old writings on medicine are unearthed. It's helpful to see how others thought about and used the medicine in an earlier time. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they discover. If history, old books, and medicine is an interest of yours, you might also want to check out a few other episodes that we have. There's episode 85, Tang Ye Jing, the Medicine of Flavor. That's with Joshua Park. In episode 384, Celestial Secrets of the Mythic Tang Ye Jing, Sabina Wilms weighs in on that document, interestingly enough, also unearthed in Dunhuang. And finally, Volkerscheid in episode 321, Continuity and Change Within the Tradition of Chinese Medicine. It's a look at how we think about history and methods that might be a little different than how you tend to think about it. There's plenty more in the back catalog of Qiological. Visit the website, browse our back catalog, and find something that you didn't even know that you were looking for. Well, here we are at the end of this episode. If you've listened up to this point, you're either a rabid fan of Qiological or the forward button on your podcast player stopped working. If you are indeed a fan of the podcast, you can help us to bring new episodes to our community of practitioners by supporting us with a membership or a one-time contribution. Details, of course, are on the website. That's it for today, friends. Join us again next Tuesday for another thoughtful episode of Qiological.